we can solve quadratic equations by using square roots. That's just one more method of being able to solve them. We've only really factored so far. So as long as s is greater than or equal to 0, so positive, in your equation x squared equals s, you will always have two real solutions when you guys take the square root or find the solution to that equation. You'll always have the positive, and you'll always have the negative. So for example, we usually write it as plus minus, positive and negative. So if you guys took the square root of 9, the square root of 9 could be 3 times 3, because 3 times 3 equals 9, or you could have negative 3 times negative 3. So that's where the positive and the negative come into play. So whenever you take the square root, you always need to make sure that you're writing positive and negative your answer, because it seems minor, but you always have two solutions. If you don't write the positive and negative, the plus minus, you're saying you only have one solution and you don't. So really the goal when you guys are doing this is to get whatever's being squared by itself, and then we undo that squared power by taking the square root. It's just like addition, undoing, subtraction, or multiplication, undoing, dividing. So you're getting that part that's squared by itself, and then once you do that, we undo it with taking the square root. So just like if this were 3x plus 5, we're going to subtract the 5. 3x squared equals 36. Divide by 3. Okay, so at this point, when you have the x squared by itself, to undo the squared power, you take the square root. It's an equation. You have to do it to both sides. But that undoes the squared, leaves you with x. We're going to simplify the square root of 12. So it's going to be positive and negative. Okay, what's the square root of 12? Finding those perfect squares, 4 times 3. So x will equal positive and negative 2 root 3. So getting whatever is squared by itself, isolated, the only thing on the one side, you undo it by taking the square root. So same thing with number 6. So you guys will add 15, because we're trying to get this x squared by itself. Plus 15, 2x squared equals 80. 2 times x, so we'll divide by 2. All right, so we get x squared equals 40. So at this point, you are ready to take the square root of both sides to undo your squared power. Leaves you with just x equaling positive or negative, whatever the square root of 40 is simplified. So the square root of 40 is going to be 4 times 10. Square root of 4 is just 2. So x equals positive and negative 2 root 10. So number 7 is a little bit different because we have sort of a whole expression here being squared, but that's the part you want to get by itself. So we are trying to get rid of the 1/3 out in the front. So 1/3 is really kind of like, multiplying by 1/3 is really like dividing by 3. So to undo that 1/3, we're going to multiply both sides by 3. That cancels that out, leaves you really with just 1. So just truly x minus 4 squared. 11 times 3, 33. So since that whole left side is squared now, you're ready for the step of taking the square root. So square root to undo the squared power, square root just because you got to do it to both sides. So that leaves you out with what was in those parentheses. So just the x minus 4 is going to equal positive and negative square root 33. Simplified. But 33, like not divisible by any perfect squares, not divisible by 9 or 4, 16. So it actually just stays. No simplifying to do there. But you guys don't have x yet by itself. You have x minus 4. So we need to do one last step. Add the 4 over. So when you guys do this, you could write it as positive and negative square root 33 plus 4. But as a, just like put it at the end. We're not going to actually add it to the square root. The square root number is a square root number. 4 is a regular constant. They're not alike. So you can't make it 37. So you would just put it at the end, but you will normally see it written in the front. So if it's positive 4 that you're adding, you would do 4 plus or minus the square root of 33. So this would be the official way that you guys would see it, because we would usually write it before the square root, but I would accept it written as this. It means the exact same thing. You're just putting it at the end instead of in the beginning there. All right, I'd like to do one more with you guys, but I'd like to do something different than the problem you have there. So I would cross out that multiple choice question because it's very similar to number 7, and I'd like you to try a little something different. So just write example 8 as 5 times x plus 3 squared equals 100. But same thing, same idea, trying to get that part that's squared by itself. So if it is 5 times that expression, we're going to divide by 5. Get x plus 3 squared equals 20. And now that you've got that squared expression on the left side, you're ready to take the square root to undo it. Leaves you with just x plus 3 equals positive and negative square root of 20 simplified. So square root of 20 would be 4 times 5. So that'll be positive and negative 2 square root 5 once you take that square root of 4. But same thing, we haven't solved for x yet. We've still got that x plus 3 over there. So one last step is subtracting 3 over. So x will equal, again, you can write it as positive and negative 2 root 5 minus 3. But as a rule, we really usually write it in the front. So it's that constant and then the square root part. So negative 3 plus or minus 2 square root 5. I have run out of room. And there you go. So you are just getting the part that's squared, whether it's just a variable squared, whether it's an expression squared, getting that isolated or by itself on the one side of the equation, and then you undo it by taking the square root. Make sure you do it to both sides.